Nice look there. Yeah, very, very early chase down in the long lane. We'll see if they can do it again. Game number 2 on the way. Totally. What is the biggest point on your mind for P's and B's?
I think that it's up to LG to set the pace of the picks and bans, and it's about making sure that Weekend is just going to pop off. Now, Serqet, even getting countered by Artio, is still a good selection in all its honesty. And maybe NotGeno could be the better selection if he wants to go for the pick potential. I just think that it wasn't the correct option to go for Cuckoo Clone with a Serqet.
I agree with that.
There needs to be control, I think like a little bit of control from every god selected in the battlefield, not just a slow from your mid-mage.
Yeah, the mid-mage just didn't have it. Cool Khan, I'm not as down on the selection as Ryan was, but I am not much higher.
Sure.
I think the choice does very well at denying area, and I think the choice, I agreed with you, but I think I'll take it back. I think it does do well with Serqet because of the taunt and the ability to line it up, but you have to, on cooldown of ultimate, be doing that sort of thing, and I just didn't see the play from ShadowChair.
And it's a high execution tactic that you need to get off every single cooldown. You're better off trying to play setup man as well, like maybe have Agni Serqet, look for some of these jungle ganks, because knowing Weekend, he loves to hide in the ambush, he likes to hide around corners. If you have the mid laner right there beside him as well as ShadowChair with the bomb stuns, then Weekend can find the kills with the last breath.
Very, very true. First half of the draft almost done. LG started off with Chernobog. They're going to grab Serqet for Weekend one more time. And they've got one last selection here, and they're going to go in the direction of Raijin. So Chernobog, Serqet, and Raijin. You asked for control. That's a ton of control.
I agree. I think Raijin provides a slightly more control between the taunts or the fears out of those taiko drums. You got the Mez even going potentially.
A lot of players build the Gem of ISO on him as well.
So does the Cuckoo Clone, so there's the slow tactic there, but more often than not, it's about how you use your Hunter from Chernobog. The root in team fights could be the deciding factor.
NotGeno, Puch, and Artio across the way for Splyce. What's your take on this one? I see a lot of damage here.
There definitely is. Nothing has changed really for Splyce in the first 3 picks. It's going to be the same old, with the Athena ban, Divios having to go for a different selection. Damage, AoE, and control. Difficult for Weekend to pop off on the Serqet because of this Artio, but it still remains a question of, is this Artio again for Aror or for Divios?
Again, and I don't know if Splyce know just yet. And I don't say that as a negative, I say that as a positive. Artio can be played by both players very highly.
And they have to pick something that'll flex for both of them as well. I'm leaning a little bit even for Xing Chen, potentially, just to be able to flex that. Because now, if you have an Artio, you're not going to play Hercules against Artio. You're not going to pick up, let's say, Tier, even though no one picks Tier anymore. But that's just a factor you have to keep in the back of your mind.
Nike selected one more time. I maintain that I like Nike. Sometimes it feels like she doesn't do too much, but all she needs to do is initiate and absorb attacks, and that's kind of what she does.
The Ren does a lot of damage if you can get off all 3 shots, but the composition from Splyce last game provided too much damage to get that close to the action. Who was going to be popping the bubble for moswal's Puch? It was up to the Fafnir from Geno.
One of the few disarms in the game, actually. I was talking to Rain Day, the Paladins commentator, and we were talking about disarms, and it's pretty much Bellona, Nike. AMC's is gone, right?
Fafnir is there.
Yep, Fafnir. Very few characters have it. Xbalanque and Amaterasu here to finish off what Splyce has been bringing. We said before they had some damage. Now they're going to double up and bring even more damage.
Oh, yeah.
So Splyce looking to mollywop the opposition. Do they have enough damage to outright beat the control that LG have brought?
I think so. LG don't have a ridiculous amount of control. It's a fair amount. I'll give them about like a B plus potentially in the control factor, but Splyce's damage is certainly in like the A category.
Well, right here, I'm going to give you the floor before we toss it to the commentators, Toli. What is the major game-winning aspect for LG here? How do they bring us to a game 3?
LG needs to shut down the duo lane between Aror and CycloneSpin. Whether that's Ama and Xbalanque or Artio Xbalanque, they can't allow CycloneSpin the freedom to do what he does and that Hunter role.
It's going to be a fun one. Splyce versus LG. Game number 2, Finch, Ryan, tell us what's up.
What's up is that LG has got to find a way to win this game and get something going for this squad, or else Splyce is going to run right over him. In fact, Geno, he could start that all right here, right now, as he has been caught out. He has to take the leap to get things started. That will get him away, but now he'll back A-OK.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why you never put a point in an ability until you are just about to use it.
That's right.
That is the entire argument right there. Geno falls for first blood in that spot unless he just holds his point. Now, Aror, on the other hand, can put that point in as soon as he wants to, basically, because it gets you your dash and your long-range route. But he's able to find it, and it won't hurt his wave clear, whereas now Geno's wave clear is going to be significantly worse. Chernobog's level 1 isn't that great anyways. It's fine. It's not anything impressive. Xbalanque's is not very good. So now what should have been Luminosity's lane almost guaranteed because of their push power might be in a little bit of question, though it looks like Splyce might just be willing to start at purple.
I wouldn't be too surprised either, as you already mentioned, the Xbalanque, nothing to write home about, as Splyce appear to be the favorites out there in Mixer chat, and I get where y'all are coming from. But Aror wants to play this one aggressive. He was going to go with very likely that route anyway. And yeah, look at this. It's LG giving up the lane pressure, and it's Splyce who are going to get the clear and might even make it to purple in time.
No, they shouldn't be able to make it to purple in time. They've got enough to do on their side of the map where you won't be able to make that. And this ends up being pretty good for Luminosity, that they get that whole wave. They're able to clear purple fast enough that it does get them to not miss anything, but it means that red buff is going to go down for Splyce. And sometimes you'll see dual lanes try and invade the enemy purple buff and then lose a little bit of lane pressure. This gets Splyce both buffs, and they shouldn't miss more than a creep on this left-hand side. Luminosity actually pushing this is kind of doing Splyce a favor. They do only lose one melee creep, but it does open up the door for Luminosity's dual lane to go and get oracles or go and get red buff. And it looks like mid jungle has actually left red buff for dual lane to grab.
Perhaps in an attempt to try and make sure they at least equalize it out, recognizing that they probably were not. They were probably going to have to go up against the red buff themselves, so that'll work out in their favor. As mid jungle kind of battling out there in the mid lanes a little bit as Kiki gets low to the Amaterasu.
It's the cheesy one.
I was curious, yeah, which is great from our perspective. I love it. We're gonna get to see the emotive face there for the Amaterasu. But I don't know. Aror likes to play the Ama as well, I feel like. But the Artio went his way. No big surprise there. Such a great game on it last time, so he's gonna play it here again.
I had no thought that this Artio was going anywhere else.
Not even a chance? Yeah.
No, it doesn't feel that way to me. I mean, it is just so clear that this is the way that they prefer it is. Cyno uses the beads to try and keep pressure onto Weekend, but Sash is already down, so Weekend should be safe. He will lose his XPs. Now safe, not so much on this left-hand side.
Wow.
That's already one, and Clout barely able to escape being the second. That's 2 games in a row now where Geno falls for first blood.
And looks like the sprint was committed there as well, too, so that doesn't even get them out. And you talked about this.
I'm sorry, it was Clout who fell for first blood in game 1. Geno is the one who survived, but someone has died in the dual lane.
Yes, they've been able to get to punish this dual lane. And you highlighted it last time, right? This is normally a bright spot for LG, right? Is Clout in particular and what he's able to do out of this dual lane for them. And they do maybe have some missteps in the mid-jungle side of it. Kiki can often kind of also be a bright spot for them, but he's inconsistent. I wouldn't say it's all the time from them. So it definitely hurts that their dual lane's falling behind early.
Now, even though they have been a bright spot, I do recall some lane struggles in the early game where Luminosity is involved in more first bloods than they should be in the dual lane, specifically pre-level 5 early on. But overall, I think that Geno and Clout have been the 2 brightest spots a lot of times for Luminosity when it comes to the team fights and grouping up and during their wins. Geno in particular has very much impressed me throughout Season 5. I think Kiki stepped up and had some really good performances. Others still has some rough ones. Surprised that Kiki hasn't been going back to that Morgan solo that was so successful for him for a little bit. Teams have kind of not had to worry about that quite as much recently, but he had a little period there where he was really killing it on that pick.
Instead, he's kind of valued this Nike. I feel like in this last game and this game as well, as he's picked it here both times. And I think for what it's worth, Kiki had plenty of impact on it last game, right? He was unkillable by them. He was an excellent front line, harassing the back line of Splyce, not letting them follow up oftentimes. So no reason not to go back to it. But the Morgan was having the kind of impact that was winning games, not just doing the job that you need from your solo lane.
Definitely. Nike, I think a lot of people would look at that last game from Kiki and go, oh, well, the Nike did nothing. Why did Kiki pick this? And unless you've been in that competitive setting, it's very difficult to really experience just how difficult a character like Nike can be out of the solo lane to really handle and be able to do your job as a mid laner or an ADC to try and put yourself in the right position to do damage or to kill the solo laner. Nike feels so difficult to kill, and yes, Kiki was taking some spills, but it took forever and was buying a lot of time, and if the team was there to support, maybe that wouldn't have happened. I think that Nike is an underrated pick. It isn't just what she does with her kit and where she is on the map, but she has a global passive that makes you do more damage and move faster.
Ooh.
Like, what else do you want?
ShadowChair in some trouble, but now it's Geno who's going to be the one that's taken up by Cyno on the Naja yet again. Brought right back down to death. CycloneSpin awaiting him when he landed, and that is now another kill, a death there for Geno. So it wasn't 2 from game 1, but now it's 2 if you just count both of them.
Right, and that I was just, Hinduman gave me this script, and I was a little...
You just read ahead. You flipped a page ahead.
Yeah, I was on the wrong page. That's on me, for sure.
That is on you. Yeah, I'm hoping you'll clean that up in the future, and make sure you stay on the right page of the script.
Well, at least I remember my lines.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm from theater. I always remember my lines.
Were you good at remembering your lines?
No.
Something told me that.
I don't know. What it was that I wouldn't practice like I was supposed to. Divios is in a lot of trouble here. We'll focus on the game instead. Last breath certainly will mean a kill, but not going to weaken. It's actually Kiki who finds it against his lane opponent.
This early Berserker shield for Kiki paying off, gets him that lane pressure, and we thought of Osiris and Bologna and Erlong Shen as the characters who are going to really utilize Berserker shield. Nike is the only character that starts her attack chain with a cleave and can make really good use of it. Now, Bologna, short, starts her auto attack chain with the cleave after she uses an ability, so don't come at me with that nonsense. It's really that you're looking to get that lane pressure by way of the auto attacks and then use Rend as your poke out ability later on. And now that he's got boots done, he could probably get some pretty good control in this lane over Divios. He's already been pushing Divios underneath the tower, though that's kind of where Ama lives.
Yes.
In the solo lane, so that's nothing new for Divios, and he's really just waiting for those mid to late game team fights.
Yeah, not going to be a ton of pressure from the Amaterasu until right about now anyway, right? Like maybe like level 8 or 9 or so when the Ama can feel fully comfortable here in lane, but that might not be as much the case as now. Kiki's already feeling pretty good with that kill now, courtesy of Weekend showing some presence on the solo side. Has the Berserker shield, which is going to make him even more of a nuisance in lane. So, well, it might be a little bit later till Divios fully feels good, but LG defending their own bus, and Weekend now on the duo side of the map, and could be some trouble.
Looks like Weekend's going pretty safe, though. Cyno, on the other hand, still going very aggressively. Look at the deep ward coverage on this side of the map for Splyce. I mean, back camps warded, purple buff warded, red buff warded. You don't get to move around on the left side of the map if you're Luminosity without Splyce knowing exactly where you are. And that's in part because Cyno is allowed to play so aggressively on this Naja and just have that early pressure that you expect, but also that I think they're really looking to keep Geno and Clout down.
They are going to be able to secure the red buff here, Ryan, on the back side, but ShadowChair gets hit by the tail end of that root, it would seem. Thunder crashes away, so he's A-okay. Over on the solo side, though, ultimate expended for the Sentinel of Zeus, dazzling offensive, just to repay the favor. And really not much ends up coming of consequence on either side. The red buff secured, not much else found. And in solo lane, everything's okay. I'm wondering if Cyno... I really thought he'd be able to find more on the back end of that. He looked for the sash, I think, onto Geno, and that didn't land. That might have been what kind of put the brakes on, but still thought maybe they could have found a little more.
Maybe if he poked his head around and threw the ring off the red buff, you could be looking for something. But Luminosity has so much mobility in that engagement. Everyone there had a leap available. Serqet has a dash and a leap, so it's pretty difficult to stop that as moswal loses about half his HP, but no panic from him.
Cyno dropping the beads. Same beads come out from Weekend, too, so now that's the ultimate down as Divios rotates on the back end, and Weekend takes a ton of damage. Cyno low as well, but Kiki can't quite finish that one off. Moswal has his ultimate chased out by Clout, who made the rotation. Now Geno's here, nowhere for the Opwash to go, and a nice kill coming Clout's way, and he might make it out too. Aror didn't recognize where he was.
No, I don't think he kills Clout in that spot anyways. Just not enough damage there for the solo laner. He's been playing like one, so I just kind of assumed he was one. The support for Splyce. Good timing by Weekend to predict that ultimate from Cyno. Cyno tried to use it as a turnaround potential and would have killed Weekend with that Windfire Wheels if he could have connected.
Well, now CycloneSpin in a spot of bother here as he gets controlled. Yeah, that's it. A nice easy pick for the duo lane. CycloneSpin goes down with a nice rotation coming over there on that side from ShadowChair, and Luminosity answering back a bit here in the early game.
Good choice by CycloneSpin to hold on to Purification Beads, because he's dead from there. I mean, had no dash left, didn't have his ultimate up. ShadowChair's right on top of him with Tycho drums. No reason to bead Stygian Torment and then just die anyways. Relic conservation, just as important as relic usage a lot of the time. And we see how many different dying beads and Aegises where there's no way it saves you, and now your relics are just down for the next fight. That time we saw a little bit more restraint shown by CycloneSpin, and that could absolutely help him.
We are seeing a bit of a mix-up, though, at least in the way Aror's trying to move through his build path this time, right? I believe it was the Onis into the Mystical Mail last game, and not going to be the case this time. As Splyce are ready to start this Gold Fury right here, right now. Clout's nearby, so is Geno, but they've dropped down the empty the Cribs. Kiki has teleported over to be a part of the fight, but Splyce already have the objective, and Cyno even kills Geno.
Wow, quickly, though. Aror falls in kind, courtesy of Kiki. We can hear and trying to assist. Great
Nice
ring
rebound.
toss. Going to do a ton of damage to Clout. And he says, okay, dude, thanks for that. Now we might both die.
And a very adorable Amaterasu going to put in the hurting on the back end of that one to find one more kill on a Clout this time. In fact, Divios is not done just yet. He forces ShadowChair back, so a Gold Fury and 2 kills all go the way of Splyce. And really, they just kind of recognized, I think, they had a window where no one was around, forced the objective down, are looking good.
Splyce has done a really good job so far in this set, not just in this game, because they had the Opwash earlier on in Game 1 as well, where moswal will occasionally just walk over there and throw a corpse on it. Throw a corpse on it every once in a while. And then Cyclone will show up and they'll pull it for a little bit, but they don't feel like they need to commit to it by any stretch. But if you get the chance to, Opwash Corpse Explosion with 6 corpses is like, it's 2 raw ults. All right, I'm being a little bit exaggerative, but that is a ton of damage. They can very easily secure a Gold Fury. And so Splyce just feels confident that they trust moswal to be able to secure it for them, and he's done so far. I mean, you can stack up to 6 corpses. Damage per corpse is 155. That's a lot of damage, give or take.
It is a lot of damage, Ryan. I think you're correct on that. And moswal has earned that trust that you just alluded to a moment ago, right? I think by his performance lately, he really has become someone that the Splyce team can start to rely on, and has made these compositions from them work with these mages. He's been able to pull out a lot of them, are sort of these high bursts, and you got to be very, very perfect with or meticulous with your positioning, and moswal has earned that for them so far. So now LG, or not LG, but Splyce rather, feeling relatively comfortable in this game. About a 2,000, a little bit over that gold lead in their name. They've got the experience relatively normalized, and they have the inverse in their dual lane this time, right? Instead of that early game dominance from the Izanami, they've kind of got a little CycloneSpin in the oven that's going to come out with this Xbalanque later and just swing. So if they can get ahead here early and bring over the Xbalanque, they're going to really be feeling good about that.
And that's part of the reason why I think we see Aurora switch up the build. It's also that the aggressive nature of Weekend in this game is going to be a bit more, as he's looking for Divios this time around. Kiki coming around the back is able to put some good damage in, but it's ShadowChair who's on the run, stunned out. Stygian Torment there to assist, but Cyno's still hunting.
He wants ShadowChair, a lot of damage from Percussive Storm, but it wasn't enough. Cyno even finds the ring bounce, ultimate to get himself out of combat for a while, but he's still going to come right back down into Clout, who's waiting. Sash almost finds it, but he ends up falling. Big damage from moswal, not enough to find Geno. That's actually 3 members of Splyce who go down. A nice win for LG.
Great pathing there from Kiki. That was no teleport this time around. That was just running around the bend and finding the perfect angle to that team fight. Weekend gets a great initiation, and Divios just isn't tanky enough yet to withstand that damage coming from Weekend, who has had a really good game on this Serqet. He played it in the last game as well, but it just felt like he's been able to do more so far in this one.
And what about Geno, right? That Stygian Torment, I think, is the one that caught 2.
Yep.
And that allowed ShadowChair to extend his life long enough to force the overextend from Cyno and guarantee that his life would get traded out in the back end. So that was big, too. A great fight from LG to kind of force the hand of Splyce, slow them down a little bit, because Splyce has been able to play kind of measured, kind of just picking their spots, taking their shots. Not this time. They had to overcommit and LG punish.
Very nicely. And their team fight for Luminosity just feels a little bit better now with the Cerberus there for Geno this time around, with the Raijin instead of the Kukulkan for ShadowChair. I think that has helped them a little bit. Clout playing this Chernobog is allowing him to rotate in pretty early onto these fights, whereas in the last game, Clout was just kind of behind all game after that beginning for the Izanami. So Luminosity definitely feel like they're putting themselves in a much better position to win these fights, and they're just knocked down by a ton of gold already.
Yeah, they're much more even this game, and look at the impact from Kiki too. 3-0-3. He's been in a ton of these fights so far, and when they go well, you can almost certainly draw a dot around wherever Kiki was and say, yeah, he was a big part of it. Right now on this Nike, he feels unkillable, and they're going to need him to be around here when this Gold Fury comes up in 30 seconds. As Splyce are already investing in controlling the space. In fact, they might want Geno. Divios can safely engage here, but the rest of LG are going to be there for the collapse on the back end.
Weekend caught in the middle of everybody, but Serqet's pretty good at mobility. Geno, or excuse me, that Cyno is able to find one with the Windfire wheel. ShadowChair dies instantly.
And now Kiki's stuck isolated on the backside. Maybe not if Clout comes in, but a two-man stun locks them both down. Nowhere to go. Geno controls everybody, but it doesn't matter because there's no follow-up. Aror takes down Geno. Weekend goes down too for the Deicide. Coming out for Splyce, and they don't need no gold fairies here. They're going right to the other side for the FG.
It is really, really hard to win a team fight when you get funneled into a tiny corridor like that and ring bounced for $1 million from Cyno.
That'll do it.
That is difficult to beat. Also, it's tough to win a team fight when your mage never gets his ultimate off. And that's just Cyno's recognition that beats were down from ShadowChair. ShadowChair has got to do a better job of pathing conservatively. I mean, he was on the top on Splyce's side of the Gold Fury when that fight started off. And Cyno's able to insta-kill him with Windfire wheels with help from Aror. And as good as the engagement went, it looked like it could go after that. Imagine if everyone was low from a Tycho drums. I mean, Weekend nearly got a 4-man poison spread because there was a 4-man Stygian Torment from Geno. That was great, but it's just that no one from Splyce had taken enough damage to make that actually happen.
Yeah, how often do you lose a fight where you can say that, right? A 4-man Stygian Torment and Serqet there waiting. It looks like LG will get the Gold Fury on the back end. But Ryan, this is what I mean when I say that Splyce have been playing patiently. I don't necessarily mean like a slow pace of the game. I just mean that they're picking their spots a lot better. It kind of looked like Splyce before would just take any fight. Anytime. Yes. They're like, yeah, you want to throw down? So do we. Literally all the time. But now Splyce they're being aggressive. They're being overwhelming when the fights happen. But they're the fights that they're picking. They're much more calculated. And like you said, that was the perfect place for them to take that fight.
And now they get to choose whatever fight they want because they've got Fire Giant. Their lead isn't huge. It's only 3,000, but once again, they have a lead without taking a lot of it from towers.
Right.
A lot of times we see these leads at 17, 21 minutes around that area be from tower pushes and getting waves underneath the towers and getting that gold. But when you get a lead and get Fire Giant with tower still standing, it makes your lead that much quicker, that much bigger, that much more quickly because you just have the ability to get so much gold so quickly from these towers.
Tier 1 has gone down. It looks like there will be at least some show of force from LG, perhaps a military parade around this Tier 2 on the right-hand side to try and make Splyce think about it. Aror has Kiki locked down the right side. In fact, he now has Cyno there to help out as well. They force out the Sentinel. The Zeus Thorns is going to return a lot of damage. A lot of commit on the Kiki on the back end. They catch him after the jump. Fleeting Breath is going to put in some hurt too, and they certainly should lock him down. Moswal gets credit. So they commit a lot, and it ends up working. Kiki goes down. 2
ultimates and a blink in total to kill Kiki, but teleport from Divios stops the split push from Clout on that left-hand side. I was about to say Luminosity's okay with how much Splyce committed there because it didn't lose them more than what they were probably already going to lose, and Clout got a tower and maybe even a tier 2, but Clout's going to have to ult away from this engagement.
And I don't know if we talk a lot. There's other types of commitments too, like time and positioning.
Oh, Clout.
And they commit a lot there. Clout has to go to some enemy somewhere, and he does end up coming in the backside, so he barely makes it out thanks to Aegis. Splyce not going to be able to grab the Phoenix, it looks like. Not even looking to push down a tower just yet. I don't know how much of their gold they've had a chance to back and spin, so maybe they want to wait on an opportunity to do that.
Everyone should have about 1,000 gold in hand. Yeah, over 1,500 for everybody on Splyce.
That's
and that'll do quite a bit. Aurora will be able to finish off whatever item he's going for. Could be another mystical mail for him. And just kind of swapped the build order, potentially. They've got the lead now where they could probably make it work.
And it looks like they aren't going to take this opportunity to back. They want Kiki again. They just put a lot onto this Nike last time he was up, and they're going to try one more time. Tycho Drums does get some good damage onto Aurora. CycloneSpin is low in the back. and he's trying to hunt down Weekend, but not going to find him. Instead, it's ShadowChair who punishes Aror.
Now Splyce all on the run. It's a double kill for ShadowChair, and Splyce is in shambles. Divios somehow threads the needle and finds Clout, and now Weekend is the one who's trying to get away low.
Cyno's low on the backside, but Divios with a double kill of his own. Now he's going to box that with ShadowChair, who really only has Geno here for support Thunder Crash to get him away, but moswal's got to have some cooldowns available now, so he can try and get into this fight a little bit. Silence onto Geno, but a nice stun lands on the 2, and now Splyce really do have to back up.
Moswal's still healthy enough, though, and he's got enough burst damage to really make these tanks think twice. Great turnaround all by Divios at that point. I mean, he came in, insta-killed Clout, finished off Weekend. Moswal was putting out really solid damage throughout that little skirmish in the mid lane. And Splyce definitely gets a little bit greedy by going for that play. Cyno, again, is ulting the front line, and they just don't have enough damage at the point. I mean, Moswal hadn't built any pen up until that point, so there's no way for him to really kill Kiki guaranteed upon landing. Now maybe that's an option, but I'd still rather see Cyno try and find a couple better targets than Kiki at this point.
The problem with Nike is, though, it's not even just protections, right? It's health you got a giant leap through, too.
Yes.
So I just don't know, man. I mean, that's twice now where they've all uncommitted. It definitely worked on that first time because no one from LG could get in position to help out Kiki, but a bit of an overstep. We just talked about how much gold they had in hand there from Splyce. And this is kind of what I mean about them. They got to make sure they're picking the right fights. Maybe getting a little bit ahead of myself saying they're picking them consistently well. They're doing better than they used to, but still sometimes where they're not picking the right ones.
It's even just the decision to push that tier 2 tower.
Yes.
With the positioning of Luminosity, with the fact that their ultimates are coming back
They
up.
backed up, and then they came to it. It didn't look like they
Right.
were clear on whether or not they wanted to do it, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and Luminosity did a good job of being ready to respond. I think
Right.
a lot of teams, once Splyce starts to back up, they think, oh, okay, we don't need to worry about this. Let's spread out and farm. But Luminosity stayed ready in order to defend their tier 2, and that makes this fight just a little bit easier. I mean, Cyno's just short of finishing off what's probably going to be a massive Mune. It's important that some of these items aren't quite done for Splyce. Now, unfortunately for LG, all that gold did result in full items in the form of an Obsidian Shard from Oswald. It was a Mystical Mail from Aror, a Mantle of Discord now from Divios. So if you thought you were killing him before, you definitely aren't now. It's going to get harder. So Luminosity's got to find the right spot to make a stand.
But they're not afraid to at least be nearby around this Fire Giant or to take a stand, it would appear. They're not going to let Splyce control this positioning around this pit entirely. In fact, now Cyno coming in to grab the vision, sash onto Kiki, but they don't follow up too much. That's good burst damage back onto Cyno in response. He's down to about half. In fact, Kiki wants to jump in and look for a little bit more as Divios is on the back line of LG.
That's Thorns and Ultimate from Kiki, and Splyce is just disengaged. Weekend gets blinked on by Aurora as a heavy commit onto Divios. There's no way Luminosity gets to kill Divios by now.
No, Dazzling Offensive allows him to reposition, but that is his ultimate, and a low health pool for him now. CycloneSpin avoids the stun, which is critical, but Clout looks like commits the ultimate too. Who's he going to go join?
ShadowChair gets slowed and has to use the Aegis. Geno gets taken up. ShadowChair is dead here. Tycho drums, just try and create some space, but Divios able to finish him. Geno falls as Aurora has been handling Clout and Weekend this whole fight.
Another fight goes the way of Splyce on the back end of that one. Kiki appears to have teleported back in, full HP and ready to rock and roll, but it's a little bit too little too late. Splyce with 5 members still relatively healthy aside from Aror should be able to take down this Fire Giant without any problems at all. But Ryan, I mean, one more time this comes up Splyce. What went wrong for LG?
Splyce is retreating down a narrow corridor. And so Luminosity wants to push forward. They want to try and get ShadowChair in there to deal really good damage. That's where Raijin can do so. Clout uses the ultimate to slow Splyce down so they don't get to safety in time. So moswal just turns around and drops the ult, says, cool, come fight us. And ShadowChair just takes 2 steps into the ult, then has to take 6 steps out and lost half his health in the process, and that allowed an easy engage for Splyce.
I promise you Geno was there, but no longer. Cyno is the one that removes him. Phoenix at half HP, and LG have 3 members here to be the goalies. Weekend now will join up to make it 4 for the defense. Remember, Splyce haven't really pushed down any other lane, so LG can all-in commit to this defense. It's not the normal pull of attention, but Cyno finds the sash onto Kiki, commits the ultimate. There will be Crips waiting for him. When he lands, it's Clout that gets deleted. Kiki falls to moswal as well. ShadowChair now has no reprieve from the damage coming out from Splyce. Another sash, another follow-up, another ring bounce. ShadowChair just barely makes it out, but can we say the same for Weekend, who ends up falling?
Did you see how Clout died? Because I
No,
didn't.
He got deleted.
I was focused on Kiki, and Clout may have walked into the corpse explosion and got one shot because he had both relics up.
He absolutely got removed. Stitching and Torment will control 2 and pull him back to the fountain, but it's too little too late. Geno can't defend. Titan at half HP. Just like that. And I mean just like that. This game is over. Splyce take game 2 over LG and the set.
24 minutes, and it all kind of happened pretty quickly, didn't it?
absolutely
I mean,
did.
it was fairly back and forth. Sure, Splyce was in control, 4 or 5K. They got one Fire Giant, sure. But then it's that overstep by Geno and ShadowChair, chasing through blue. Then it's Geno gets picked by being at Phoenix too early. Kiki gets committed on shore, and then Clout dies with both relics up. I don't know. This Luminosity team has a lot of problems right now,
Yes.
and I think a lot of people, I've been browsing the Reddit, in streams, whatever. A lot of people are putting it on ShadowChair, and he has not played well so far. But it's clearly not just him because this team has issues.
They were not particularly great before ShadowChair got there, if I'm being honest with you, right? So we can't put it all at his doorstep, but they got to figure something out and try and clean it up. But Splyce looking better and better every time I see him play, man. Who's your MVP from that squad? It's a little bit tough to say. I don't know if anyone particularly really kind of ran at this time. Aurora, I thought, in game 1 was a lock-in. Anyone stand out for you?
I think Divios did a great job in this game. The one fight where it looks like Luminosity's finally getting some footing down mid lane. Divios comes in and gets 2 kills there. Cyno had another great game on the Naja. Moswal's ultimate during the chase that really turns it around. His damage was very relevant. Take your pick. Splyce played well as a team.
They absolutely did. I think there might still be a little bit they got to clean up too, but to be honest, over there in NA, I mean, it's a little messy right now. I mean, you don't have to be perfect, I think, to make number 2 right now. And Splyce looking like they might be the ones that can get that done. We'll end up seeing Des can go over all those scenarios, everything that happened with this game, tell you a little bit more about what went down.
Thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot, Ryan. And we conclude our North American day with a Splyce victory. 2 games above Luminosity. And I got to reverberate what Ryan said there. ShadowChair might not be the MVP mid laner of the league, but oof, LG, a lot of bumps and bruises on that side.
Outside of what Luminosity did incorrectly, you got to give credit to where credit is due. Splyce played fantastically. CycloneSpin on the Xbalanque with Darkest of Nights allows Cyno to do Naja things, allows Divios to do Amaterasu things to penetrate the backline. And guess what? There's some zombies flying your way from moswal.
Yeah, I mean, looking at what Splyce does, and by no means did I mean to say that Splyce only win because Luminosity have a couple of dings and dents in what they're trying to do here. I think it's a conversation of burning at both ends, where Luminosity is kind of the wick that's burning down because they're not doing too hot, and Splyce is just heating up, and it just winds up being all Splyce all day. Fantastic stuff out of everybody on the team, but the fans at home have chosen Divios to be the most valuable player, the Amaterasu player with a big old head comes through with a big old slash line. And what a fantastic job he did out of the solo.
Even having top player damage. Not very common for the end of the game, 24 minutes deep for the solo laner to do so, but this Amaterasu, fantastic play, able to really get in the thick of things, big head or not.
And I was commenting on the skin first and foremost. Let me say that, absolutely. And, I'm happy. We seem to have switched the player picture here for Divios. And I think this is much more representative of him. The big smile, big approach to the game. And it sounds like I'm kind of talking outside the lines of the game here, but you and I have discussed how important the attitude is.
The chemistry.
And Divios is this shining moment here for Splyce. When they're doing well, and I'll say when they're doing well, Divios is a very positive force, and I think it's really important to know that he loves playing the game. And I think that translates into success here for him. You can see Divios at all hours of the night in Smite, whether it's in the practice room or in some sort of queue. And I think that dedication to the game and the fact that he's been playing so long and still enjoys it is a really big mark for me.
And it's not just Divios in the front line, it's also Aror. Those two are very giggly, bubbly individuals that could bring that chemistry of Splyce to a point now that they are dominating right underneath United, but setting themselves on that pacing to get second place.
Yeah, Aurora, just like Divios, also still loves the game. And when you've been playing for so long, it's kind of easy to get jaded and maybe just look at it as a job. But I think Aror and Divios come out every single day really loving what they do. And I think that proof is in the pudding right here. Splyce, 2nd place. They take the victory over Luminosity. And just like that, they're on top of the world. Just below United, but they're on top of their world for sure. 4-2 for them.
Doing a good job there. Unfortunately for Luminosity, can't find victories quite yet, dropping down still to that 6th spot at 1-5. Need to figure something out. Not necessarily how to climb the standings, but how to just prepare themselves for the LAN.
So Splyce wind up taking the victory above their opposition. Trifecta take the win, as do E-United. Looks like you want to be on the left side here. Everybody on the left side is winning. So tomorrow we get to see Energy and Rival win?
Maybe. Who knows? Energy versus Dignitas should be really exciting. Rival against Obey should be a slobber knocker to follow suit. North America, not as much compared to Thursday.
Space Station, Trifecta, United, and LG might be a little bit predictable, but you never know what'll happen. Trifecta, Space Station, I think, will be more exciting than we anticipate. Space Station on a downturn, unfortunately, and Trifecta with a great win today. You know, I looked at what Zapman said on Twitter, and he said, by no means are we perfect. We still have some things to work out, but he's very happy with how the team has been improving, and he has all eyes on the LAN. The placement stage details are out. Essentially, the top 2 teams are going to auto-qualify to Worlds, but then everybody else comes through, and they'll play on LAN for their opportunity to play at HRX through the 16th and the 18th. These teams are going to be working really hard, and Zapman has his eyes right there. If he doesn't qualify, he can certainly buy a ticket, and you at home can do so too. hi-rezexpo.com. Make sure to join us in November.
And there's also going to be the after party. Don't forget, Sunday the 18th, HRX after party.eventbrite.com. $50 to get you through the door. Receive some of those crisp handshakes from Finch and everyone else.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun every year. After parties at main event. It's like a big old arcade. There's also a bar for those of you that are of age. It's a lot of fun. There's a dance floor. Totally going to be tearing it up.
You damn know. I will be.
I kind of caught you by surprise there, it looked like.
Yeah.
Well, can you show us any of your dance moves?
No. That'll be saved for the main event.
All right.
Because it is a main event.
Is it?
Always with me.
Your dance moves are the main event.
Oh, it always is with me.
Well, that's going to do it for us here at the Smite Pro League. Me and Toli, we're going to go have a dance-off. Thank you so much for joining us. For myself, Anatoly, my co-commentators, everybody behind the scenes, thanks for joining us. Peace and much love to you.